news and everything that came with it, whew, it was different. It was
Awesome. Awesome. That's good. Yeah, we got through July 4th, and then Sunday we get a call. My girl's grandmother had passed away. So it's like one freaking thing after another. And it was like, are you kidding me? Really? And this is happening now. And my daughter is like, I hate the summer. Everybody dies during the summer. It's like, it just happens. Everybody's getting older. And so it just keeps happening. But what do? Are in a position, and the thing is, they've been estranged from this grandmother since their dad died and have not spoken to her. This lady just stopped talking to them. And so, I could be really shitty, but I'm going to support my daughters and whatever they want to do. And they're just amazing, compassionate, loving human beings that they're sad for it, but at the same time, they want to be there for their uncle. And that's a good thing. So,
Yep, you gotta put the emotions aside sometimes. That's where our abundance comes from, is not always just being mad because, this person didn't talk to us, but also understanding the generation where they came from, how all
that's their own stuff, and she gets to live and die with it.
exactly.
And I'm so glad we found this work that allowed them to be in a space where they could have that kind of compassion and not be bitter and not be hurt.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've got great news. I have like 7 new clients.
Really? I'm so excited for you.
Yes,
You've
7 new
been waiting.
clients in the past 3 weeks. I've gotten 7 new clients.
Insane. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so excited. It feels so good to be back in that flow of being in a position where I can help people and I
Right.
can get past my own grief. Monday was my sister's first year anniversary, and it was it was emotional, but at the same time I kept hearing her, keep going, keep going. Hey Pascal, hey Ronald, hey guys, thank you guys for joining me. My name is Kathleen Chapman. I am a medical support hypnotherapist, and I am on with a fellow colleague that is also in the healing arts, healing, journey, and healing, working with people to help them heal from the things in life that have affected us. I experienced childhood trauma in my life, and I experienced child SA abuse, and the things that I've learned with my hypnotherapy business is that I was able to work on generational trauma with my daughters and be able to heal that within them. And so Harley and I are on here to talk about our experience in healing. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do, Harley?
My name is Harley, and I work on everything as a whole. Like, I'm the person that's going to call out the parts of you that need work without offending you, right? With getting you to become comfortable with wanting to work with someone like Kathleen or myself in a more in-depth setting. I grew up with a life of nothing but chaos with narcissistic abuse my whole entire life. I was born into it. And so when I finally said enough was enough, um, I wanted to help other women that have been through these scenarios and been through these things, because when we're going through it, it feels like it's forever. And that's the hardest stage of reprogramming from the chaos. And so that's my mission and goal here, is to help other women start to see those things so that they can see the changes in their life, because we have to change ourselves before money or relationships or anything else will start to come to us.
That's so true. And then, I've told my clients several times, everywhere we go, there we are. And so it doesn't matter, how we think our healing is going to manifest, life is going to give us that experience that's going to bring us where we need to be. I recently was working with someone who has got a lot of physical ailments that have manifested, and what we've discovered is that these are past life experiences and traumas that she's experienced in other lifetimes that are manifesting here so we can heal it. Because here in this lifetime, we have the medical, systems that can help, which they didn't have in whatever lifetime she created these. And we bring them in each time when we don't heal them. And so that's what we're talking about, is the process of what we've been through that has allowed us to find a space that can open the opportunity for other people to step into their healing journey, continue their healing journey. My little client, she's done a lot of work. She's also a Reiki master, and so she knows about the body, and she knows how to heal the different levels of trauma that she's experienced. And so when we started working with each other, she was like, "But I've done this already." And then we go a little bit deeper, and we put, just discovering more things and the aha moments that come out of it. It's so rewarding to be able to get to see someone hear it, because what maybe people don't understand is our subconscious and our body holds all of the memory, all the energetic imprints from our trauma, but also our subconscious holds all of the imprints from lifetimes. And so we have all the answers inside of us. We just don't know how to shut our minds off to be able to access it and hear it. And that's what I do. I teach my clients how to, and guide them how to really slow down and just be able to get the information and get the clarity that they need.
Exactly. I'm more of the person that gets you when you're ready, right? Because this is all in your divine time. Everyone might be interested. They're like, "Oh, yes, yes," but their body's not ready for it and their mind's not ready for it. What Kathleen does is very intense, and that's where I kind of feel as I come in play, right? It's like I teach you to be the self-aware person that can see these small little tiny habits that have manifested into this chaos, and how we can work on the physical change. While you work with Kathleen, you're going to dig deep into the soul, into the heart of who you are as a person, and accept yourself and give yourself permission to love you. And then rest of your life is going to start to flourish in very amazing, attractful ways that you've never thought before.
Oh, so true. I know the two of us met through an experience that we both decided to get into digital marketing. And through that process of learning something new and trying to figure out a way to create to create income, we met through this amazing program, and didn't realize that digital marketing was going to be the catalyst for us to find different people that we needed in order to shift and continue growing. I've been on my healing journey for over 14 years. I've been a hypnotherapist for about the same time, a couple of years longer. But that, you know, even me with the skills that I have, had a loss in my family that was very extremely painful. And so I disconnected. I disconnected from that pain and went inward and went low. And I didn't want to be stuck there. So I needed to find something that was going to light me up. And it happened to be digital marketing. But what it did was it reconnected me to myself. It allowed me to meet some amazing people like Harley and our coach, Justin Springer, that allowed me to reconnect to what I love to do, which is to be of service and to help people heal from the trauma that we've all experienced. Many of us have experienced trauma in our lifetime. And trauma isn't just like the major stuff. It could be something as little as, getting spanked or getting called on by a teacher or a friend reject, whatever it is. But trauma is what's left in the body. That's the energetic blueprint that it leaves in our body. And so what we do is try to give it acknowledgement so it can be healed.
Exactly, exactly. Because, like you were saying earlier, there's parts of us that were from different lifetimes that experience different things. And the person who we are today experienced it differently than that person would have experienced it. And so, like, really tapping into those small attributes of who you really truly are, it's some intense work, but it's definitely worth it. Since I've really honed in on a lot of my self development skills and like my healing, like deep healing in the past 2 years, I am a totally different person. Like, you guys would not recognize me. Old content, you would not recognize who I was as a person because I was still going through the ruts of, narcissistic abuse after, a divorce and co parenting and all of the things. And it has been a messy, messy game, but things are working out. No contact is working. Like, the whole point of no contact is to say, hey, these are boundaries. Please don't break them. I'm not saying I don't want you in my life, but this off balances me and I'm not okay with this. And being able to, speak who you are as a person, and things are rolling back into play. Kids are going to be seeing those beautiful little faces sooner than I think.
And the thing about creating boundaries is you're teaching people how to treat you. And when you have been abused the way that we have been abused, we don't know how to create healthy boundaries. We don't even know what that was because our boundaries were crossed. And so then when we're trying to create these healthy relationships and we're trying to create these boundaries, it feels uncomfortable. It makes us feel bad because we don't understand them. But as you're going through this process of healing, you understand that they're extremely necessary. They're necessary for your mental health. They're necessary for, oh, look, Ashley wants to join us. They're necessary for just really figuring out what we're going to allow within us. And sometimes it means loving people from afar and knowing that it's okay to love people from afar and still work on yourself. Because when you make yourself that priority and you start healing those little aspects of yourself, then you can really be there for the people that you love. But you can't be there for the people that you love when you're in pain and suffering.
No, because you don't show up the same.
Exactly.
You show up as the, as I guess, the evil version. I mean, I don't even want to call it evil, but it's persuade off as evil to rest of the world, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not how you want to show up. It's like this statement: if the airplane goes down, right, the first person you put the oxygen on is
Yourself.
yourself. And why would you put it on yourself? Because if you're passed out, what's going to matter what happens to baby to protect them or whoever else is with you? If you can't protect yourself, then you can't protect anyone else.
Right. Exactly. I had to go through that experience when I was doing my healing. When I started this healing work, I was in a very dark place. I had lost several people in my life, and I was in so much pain and suffering. I didn't want to feel it, and so I created a drug addiction that took hold of me pretty quickly. Like within 2 years, I was like, okay, I need help. I need help, and that's how I found hypnotherapy. It took me several years of this addiction before I got to the hypnotherapy. But once I found it, it was like I couldn't even be there for my daughters. They were in their early 20s, and I couldn't be there because I needed to focus on me. I'd been a mom since I was 18 years old, and they were in their early 20s, and I needed to do some heavy self reflection and healing that I really didn't know that I needed. And so this gave me the opportunity to do that. It gave me the opportunity to find it. And then once I started feeling the shift, I was like, oh my God, people need to know about this. Everybody thinks that there's something wrong with it. Hypnotherapy has a bad rap, and the movies make it so. They make it make it out to be something, detrimental. It's gonna you're gonna lose all control. You're gonna be under mind control. And the thing is, seen stage hypnosis for so long, and stage hypnosis, what people don't understand is everybody that goes up on that stage has to be in agreement for it to work. So they're ready. They want to be hypnotized. They want to be participants, and so then it works, and they're able to, because if they didn't want to do it, it wouldn't work. But they have to be in agreement. Just like when I work with people, you have to be in agreement. This has to be something you want to do, that you want to try, that you want to explore, or it doesn't work, because I'm not in control. I'm just a guide. You're actually doing everything. I'm just guiding you along the way, and just kind of helping clear your mind and relax you. But I'm not in any way controlling your experience, right?
No, you're not at all. And I think it's because we have this definition of what normal is, and the definition of normal is definitely not it's it's not normal, right? Like everything we think is normal isn't normal. So
No, it's a program.
exactly how they've had you think and believe for your whole life. You're to put your kids and you're supposed to put your family and everybody above yourself. Well, from all of our generations, what have we found out that actually does? Why are we so angry and so belittled in this
Because
world?
we were raised by angry, mean, unconscious people.
Exactly.
I love my mom, but she was mean as hell. She would throw something at you, she would backhand you, whatever. I mean, the stuff that my grandkids do now, they would be losing teeth. I mean, that's just how they were. And I wouldn't even think about ever doing anything like that to them. Like
Right,
there's
because if we think about it, a lot of, the older generation believes that children should know better, that they should be taught from a young age on how to act, what to say, and that their whole world should be controlled at some level, right? And that's
seen and not heard.
really not the case. Like, we're gonna get mad at a 6 month old for throwing a fit because they're uncomfortable and they can't
Hmm.
actually talk to us, right?
Hmm.
We're just gonna leave them in a crib and let them cry. Like, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. We want to
We
regulate
were
them when
never we
they're
were never
little,
the
right?
let them cry themselves to sleep parents. No.
My oldest,
I
I
will
was
hold
like
you
that.
all day long. I don't care.
Right. My oldest, I was kind of like that. I was like right in between because I was still trying to figure out exactly what worked best for parenting. But with my youngest, I was the opposite. I really became an emotionally aware parent. And I
Hmm.
had to learn how to navigate her feelings and emotions because, as a big whole, without saying what happened, she's a very emotional child. And I had to obtain to her different than I did my oldest daughter. And even going no contact now and hearing the things that I hear, like she's being taught the opposite of what I tried to implement and teach and how to maneuver through those small things. If they're having a fit, let them have a fit and then be
Hmm.
able to be like, hey, I'm here. And then when that nervous regulation is done, then you can sit down and talk about what the real problem was and so that it doesn't happen again. And then we know the warning signs so that we can actually be there for their emotions, not just be there to provide food and a bed and clothes and shoes on their feet.
Right. Well, I think another thing that we run into is we expect self-regulation from people that can't even regulate themselves. Like
Yes.
I was a rager, and I expected my girls to be a certain way, and that's not what they've got to witness, you know? And luckily they've worked through all that, so their adult lives aren't spent in rage, and that energy wasn't passed down. It's done. It's done with us, and that's huge. And that's just a part of the process when you're going through this healing, is knowing that when you're working on yourself and you are healing those things that those thought forms and those patterns and the programs that you took on from your unconscious parents, that it's going to ripple out. It's going to ripple out, and the next generation and the next generation doesn't have to, because now we've got tools. We've got things that we can turn back on, and tools and techniques that we can use to help us get right back to center, you know. Did you drop something?
No, the extra light I have over here in the corner was like shining in my eyeball, and I couldn't see the screen. I was like,
Blinding you by the light, huh?
yeah, blinded by the light. That was for real.
So thank you guys for jumping in. My name's Kathleen Chapman, and we're just talking about our experience through our healing journey. I'm a medical support spiritual hypnotherapist, and Haley is an emotional coach. She works with people to help them really tap into their power and create healthy boundaries, and just move forward in their lives. Maybe you can explain it better than I did.
You did a really good job. I mean, I that's what I would say it pretty much is, right? Is our power is our boundaries. Our power is our self-care. And when we don't implement those small things, then we attract people that are from our past life.
Right,
And that's something I hear a lot is why do I keep attracting the same type of person?
right.
Well, the
And it's
reality.
because you're a vibrational match. You know, I've learned we don't attract what we want in our lives, we attract who we are.
Yep.
And so if you've got a base program of dysfunction, then that type of energy that you meet is going to feel comfortable. So then, of course, you're going to be attracted to that kind of dysfunction, and it's going to feel safe, and it's going to, your nervous system, even though it's chaos, right? Even though it's like a shit show, right? Your nervous system was programmed for that. So anything else is going to be feel uncomfortable. My husband, super normal, like never had an addiction problem, never had a drinking problem, never had any real, just kind person, balance, never gets mad, oh, it never gets angry. I mean, it takes a lot to piss him off. And usually it's about me spending too much money or something stupid like that. But it's always just very, very killed. How? And when I think about that, how did I attract that? I don't I don't remember ever being that balanced in that, but I was the dysfunction, over
Mm-hmm.
here. And somehow we've made it through over 38 years now. We've made it through, and he still is the there he is, just
Mm-hmm.
do, and allows me to do what I need to do and be who I am, and just loved me through all of the dysfunction.
And I think that's the hard part for a lot of women who've been through what we have been is finding that man that's gonna stand there through that dysfunction and what does it do to them and how does it make them feel? Like that's something I had to learn. And I didn't learn
Mhm.
until it was at a point where it was detrimental to everything I had going on in life, right? But a man that loves you is going to stand there while you can't stand on your 2 feet. A man that
Mhm.
loves you is going to guide you towards it and see those small attributes. But we only attract that when, like, we've worked on ourselves at some level. Like, even like Kathleen said, she's like, I was still in the chaos, but there was still enough energy of healthy in order for me to pull in that loving man. And I can totally relate to that.
Well, I knew the life that I wanted to create. I wanted to be the stay-at-home mom that was there for my girls. That was the mom that I never had. That was the cool mom that would be, available. I got to do a lot of stuff with my girls when they were young. I'd get to go to their dances and video them when most parents couldn't even go. They weren't allowed. And they just allowed me to be part of it. And I was the ones that they would call when their friends would be all jacked up and couldn't go home. They knew that they could bring them to me and they would be fine. Um and then there was the dysfunction part, the part that was unconscious, the part that was my programs of being a rager, of flipping out over stupid shit like something not being done, cleaned right or done right or whatever. And it took a lot. It took a lot for me to get into a place where I felt proud of being a mom, or proud, because I'd get shit all the time. You know, people would judge me because I didn't work. I was a stay-at-home mom. I kept other people's kids, you know, and made money that way. But my most part, I was that one to be there for my kids. That was it. And then still passing on the generational trauma and not realizing that's what was happening.
And we don't ever recognize it fully because
Mm-mm.
it's like the body and the brain aren't attached when we're in the chaos. Like our mind is conscious and we know what we're doing and what we're saying, but as soon as something threatening happens, almost exactly like the past, then we're like, no, we're not gonna do this. Like we're gonna react this way, and we don't even think about it. We just do it, and we just interact, and then it becomes chaos, pure chaos, and we're like, holy shit, how did we get here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Many, many years of that, you know, I always felt, you know, I'd failed them in so many ways because of the unconsciousness. And I've had the grace of, because of this work, because of the hypnotherapy, I've had the opportunity for grace because my daughters allowed me to heal it with them. And they would tell me, I would be crying over their memories of things that happened to them when they were little, and I would just feel awful. And they would just say, Mom, but you didn't know any better. How could you not be fucked up from where you came from? How could you not have these issues? You know? But we owned them. I owned them, and we tried to shift it as best as we could and healed it. And it had to result in unconditional love. That's how we healed it. We just kept focusing and refocusing on unconditional love for each other, because we're in this lifetime, this first time of this lifetime of being aware of it and healing it. You know, a lot of people can spend their whole lives not conscious or not ready to face whatever it is we did, and that is something we were full on. Once it started, it was like our new addiction almost, because it just felt so good.
Well, I mean, life of chaos is a form of an addiction because we get a dopamine effect from the way that the aka narcissist is treating us because it's reflecting something we haven't worked on in our own childhood. So we're then looking for that next dopamine hit. So we're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
how do we create this without mentally or physically thinking about it first? We just do it because that's what we've been modeled our whole entire life.
Mm-hmm. Another thing people need to realize is when we go through this process, our bodies have been regulated. Our nervous systems get regulated when we're in the womb. And if your mother experienced a lot of trauma, or if she experienced a lot of anxiety, maybe she was worried, maybe she was scared, maybe she had some kind of emotions that she didn't know how to handle, or maybe she went through a divorce or separation and she was in fight or flight. Whatever your mother experienced in the womb energetically gets put onto us because we think it's our own. Here we are in this little cocoon of the womb, and energetically we're being hit by all these different chemicals that our mother is experiencing, and we take it on and we feel like, oh, so anxiety is my base program, or fear is my base program, or stress is my base program, because our little bodies have been hardwired to that energy. So then we come out, we're born, and then we're raised by people with fear, anxiety, stress, all of the things, who are just coping the best they can. And a lot of them worked and used work or used whatever it was for them to disconnect so they didn't have to face it and heal it. So then what happened? We took it on. We took it on even more.
Yeah, dysfunction is definitely something that many think is normal and that like that's how it's supposed to be, but like even going through this process now with being like estranged from my kids. This has taken a lot for me to speak on a public level about this because people are like, oh, you're not a good mom because you left. Well, if I was a good mom and I stayed, then you're telling me I was being a bad mom because I was allowing their father and every other asset to mistreat me, which was modeling why my kids were mistreating me, right? So me staying is better to teach them to continue a generational curse than it is for me to walk away, work on myself, and become the best version of me so that when they come back, I'm able to handle all of the things that they need to because I've already worked through it and I already have tools and people that can help them do that, right? So on a scale, who's the better parent, right? Like staying in
Yeah.
chaos does not make you a better parent.
No, it
Taking
just
the
makes
chance
you
on
comfortable.
you. Yeah, exactly. It just keeps you comfortable. Comfortable for your generation to generation to keep having the same problems and issues. And that's really when I had to hone in and look at myself because there's many days where I'm like, man, you're such a bad parent. You are not with your kids right now. And it's like, no, you are a good parent because you're still loving them from afar. You're still standing up for them. You're still protecting them. You're not just going silent. And
Right.
all of this work that you're doing is going to pay off and you're going to see a whole entire different version of life. And even Miss Catherine has said that to me. You're doing this work at such a young age that your children are going to be able to benefit before they even have their own children. You are saving your grandchildren, is pretty much what she said to me. And
Yes.
that really about made me cry because she's not wrong. And that's been one of my mottos through this whole process is I'm saving my grandchildren that aren't even yet.
Yes. Yes, because we healed 7 generations forward and seven generations back. I learned that on my thing. I had when I was in the darkest part of my journey, I just had so much guilt. I just felt like, my daughters didn't get married, they didn't go to college, they didn't follow the program. Everything was backwards. They had the babies first, and they had the relationships, then they had their education. But I had failed them because I didn't think that they followed the program. And now, thank God, we weren't supposed to. We weren't supposed to follow the program. We never were supposed to fit in. That's why school was so hard. That's why life was so hard. That's why I struggled with everything I tried to learn because I wasn't supposed to fit into that system. Same with my girls, but I didn't know it. And so one of them struggled a little bit more than the other when it came to that. But at the same time, there's nothing in a school that could teach them what they have now. Their empathic gifts, their intuitive gifts, their sentient gifts of sight, of hearing, of knowing, all the sentient gifts that there's no school that could have taught them. The only way they could connect to that power was to heal.
Yeah,
Because
by
when we heal,
experiencing
we're
it. Yeah.
breaking those cycles and we're breaking the ideas and the thought forms that our parents took on, that we took on, and then it spirit is allowed to move through us in a way that we are connected and connected in every level, in
Mhm.
every level. But that's what healing does for you. That's why I fell in love with it so much.
Yeah. And like we were talking about boundaries earlier, this all like revolves into boundaries. And a lot of people are like, well, boundaries are for other people. Well, boundaries aren't actually for other people, they're actually for you. And they're for
Hmm.
you to learn how to sit with the feelings and the emotions when someone is rude and disrespects you, but also how to walk away respectfully. And this was a hard process for me to understand growing up with the type of parents that I grew up with. Like they set that example. So that lack of has been there forever. So understanding that when someone doesn't see my viewpoint, that I can walk away from that conversation and know that right now they're not ready. But
Hmm.
I can still keep them far enough away that they're not going to dim my light, dim my voice, or who I am as a person, and that I'm not going to react in malice in any way, shape, or form. And I
Right.
think, like, as a whole, from all generations, that's something that we get really confused is when is it okay to feel malice? How long is it okay to feel it? And how do we move on from it? Because that's the part of boundaries that gets construed. They're like, oh, well, I've tried all the things. Me too, honey. I've tried them all with the parents, the co parents, and everybody in my life. And healing and being your best version of yourself, you are not going to have more than, 20 people. Let's say hands and toes, 20 people that are really going to cheer you on, but you're not going to have all those people in the beginning. They're
Right.
going to come through time and they're going to be there for you when it's applicable. And understanding to not be attached to other humans. This is something I'm still learning to this day, is being attached to me instead of being attached to everybody else, and understanding that they're an extension of me and they're allowed to have their own feelings and emotions and they don't have to destroy what I do on an everyday basis. That is those are the basic constructs for me of how to self-regulate with your boundaries. Like yesterday after court, like I was all over the place and I was like, okay, this is a whole new feeling for you. Everyone is seeing everything and everyone is giving you kudos. How do we respond? What is the body going through? What are we feeling right now? What does this remind us of? Like asking myself all of these questions as I'm laying down on grass and just being grateful that the grass is green and that the sun is out and that it's 90 degrees outside. Like just being grateful for those small moments, because at one point in time, I did not see where we are right now.
Right.
I thought this was never going to happen, but I never took the time to work on me. So that's why.
This is the fruits of all of that labor, all of that consciousness that you decided to step into. Virginia, thank you so much. I see that you are on and liking the live, and I appreciate that you're supporting us. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, you don't know what's happening energetically when you heal, and the boundaries and everything. I'm so happy everything worked out the way that you wanted it to, for your with what you're going through, and that right there is just confirmation that you are being supported. You are being supported energetically through the work that you're doing, because it takes a lot to have the strength to separate from your children, in order for them to have the best chance that you can give them. And you've done that, and you've done it selflessly, and it's painful. And the judgment that you must hold or have held against yourself for that, and know that it's all been for this greater picture. And those girls, they're going to go through their own process, and they're going to have their own experience. But knowing that they have someone who has worked their asses off to get there and get the answers for them that they need while they're going through their growth, you're going to develop the most beautiful relationships. And I know that with everything in me, because that's what I have with my girls. And I would have never had it had I not.
And I mean, my
Thanks,
girls and I are I mean, I'm very emotionally, how can I put this? I'm emotionally intelligent with my kids. I'm not like necessarily emotionally like attached to them, right? But I can feel what they're going through and all of those things, right? So on this journey, there are days where I'm having the best day in the whole entire world, but my body is absolutely going through it. I'm like, I need to take a moment for the oldest. I'm feeling the oldest is going through something today. Let's help her remove that energy, even though I can't talk to her, even though I can't see her. Let me write her a letter. Let me write a little blurb about this, because this is all going to come back and be a full 360, because she needs that love. And I said this to someone that I was talking to yesterday after court. I gave them their voice. I told them that it's okay to speak when things don't align, that it's okay to do these things. And I taught them what boundaries were. And I showed them what it looked like to implement them at the easy level and at the hard level. And now, guess what? I got two girls that don't know how to keep their mouth shut, because 90% of their life does not align with who they are as a person, and their other parents are having to learn to adjust their dysfunctional life. It's not that I never liked my ex's lifestyle or where he was going. It's, you can't raise kids like that. You can't raise them in, oh, well, this is the road and we're not scourging past the road. No, are their own person and they have their own way of dealing with things. But when you're over you're overworked and you're not sure how to balance everything, then no, children are going to be off linked. One of the things I used to do with my girls was on the weekends that we had visits, we would split the day in half into thirds. Actually, we would split into thirds. So stepdad would get half of the day with one, I would get half of the day with the other, and then we'd come back together and we would have time together as a family. And then when they went to bed, then mom and stepdad would have their own time together, because children need individual time with us in order to grow and to nourish into like a real person. And I flaw this back to a statement that my mom told me when I was working on some things with her. Emotional intelligence wasn't taught back in 1944. It wasn't. It was taught to go to work, make the money, pay the bills, make sure they're clothed, make sure they're fed, and get them off to bed so they can do the same exact thing every single day. And
Mhm.
so I came from an emotionally intelligent person, and now I'm ingraining that into my kids because their voice matters.
Right.
And a lot of kids don't know that. They're like, "Oh, if I wear the color orange, I can't wear that color because that's my, whoever's unfavoritist color." And then we're like, well, why do kids care so much about what other people think? Well, what limiting beliefs are we giving them? And I don't mean that you're being mean and saying, oh, you look ugly in that shirt. I'm saying the little comments of, oh, well, do as I said, not as I do. Or those little tiny comments affect a child through their life, or how we react to bills, for example. That
Mhm.
is then ingrained into our children when they get older, just like giving them money for chores. Like there's a level that it's okay and there's a level that it's not okay depending on how you're raising your little one. But if you teach them that because they do this they're going to make money, now imagine when they go out on their own, they're like, oh, well, if I clean the kitchen, mom's still going to pay me. Like that's the lack of belief that we got to teach them exactly what it looks like to fill out a job application. That it
Oh
is
yeah,
not.
never had that at all when I was
Me
growing up.
neither. Me neither. Me neither.
I was given a checking account when I was 14. I could overdraw it. They never said shit to me. I would overdraw it, write it. They just put more money in there. Got credit cards. We had, back then, we had accounts like at the grocery store. All you had to do was sign your name and you could buy whatever you wanted. And parents got the bill at the end of the week. I never knew. I'd go and fill up a cooler full of drinks and candy and stuff, taking it to the baseball games or the football games to give out to my friends. Never had to pay for that. Never understood who was paying for it. Credit cards, would get credit cards. Never understood there was a bill at the end of the month that you had to pay. And racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for that, for from not being taught how to manage what this was. Had no clue, no clue. And it wasn't that they were trying to spoil me. They traveled, they taught all over the world, actually, photography. And so they were gone all the time. And since I was always by myself, I had to have money. It was convenient for them just to give me this and give me that, because then they didn't have to worry about me. So then I grew up with this belief that money comes easily. Everything's easy. Everything works great. Money comes easily and often. I don't never had to worry about it. I could be successful. I just had a completely different experience around money than my sisters did. They grew up when my parents were starting out, when my mom was single for a few years, when she married my stepdad, and they created their business and they were struggling and learning how to manage these businesses. So everything was hard. They were broke. They never had enough. They never had money. There were 7 kids that they had to take care of. And I just grew up in a time where it was easy and they were successful, and it was just totally different. And so then my sisters both worked hourly jobs. I have one sister that's a hairdresser. She's worked for 70 years, 60 years, no, 60 years, because she's 72 now. 60 years she's been a hairdresser. And then my other sister worked for Southwestern Bell. She was actually a switchboard operator back when they had it. And she worked for the corporate world for 30 years and supported her family. But we had totally different experiences. And so that comes with your belief in your things around money, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And and then it and then my girls had a different experience, they they were very blessed. My husband was a very good provider, but he worked in corporate world, so he did all of it for us. He managed and supported us, and gave us a really good life. And it's just funny how you think about all of the experiences that we have that create our personality. Our, like Joe Dispenza says, your personality is your personal reality. So if your personality is a little dysfunctional, well, then your personal reality is going to be a little dysfunctional. And so the trick is to just heal as much as you can. Become aware of what you're doing, the thoughts you're doing, the choices that you make, and then that will help you create the opportunities that you want, the new opportunities, the new perceptions, and all of that, which is what healing does for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's wild to think that the most smallest thing can change that. Like, I know that your kids came from a previous relationship, right? So they had all that too when they were transitioning to a new dad. And I can totally like relate to that as well because of the things that I've been through with my ex-husband and my kids. And this is something I remind myself all the time is for years, I reminded them how important and how special their biological dad was, even though he was mistreating me. Like there was a routine program every day when we knew that dad was coming home. And then now for them to be in this world where they're having to actually see the truth, I had to admit that I was part of the problem in that process for them to be able to have the epiphanies that they're having now.
Yeah.
And that's hard to admit sometimes as a parent.
But like my daughter said, you didn't know what you didn't know, but you also had to heal it, and you did the very best that you could with the level of consciousness that you had. We all did, we all do, everyone. And so I think that's what one takeoff or takeaway could be is we're all where we are, and that's okay. And the truth, the thing is not, if you are in pain and suffering, or if you are living a life of dysfunction and you want to shift it, reach out to somebody that has gone through it, that has found tools that maybe could help you see things differently. I love the book, and I don't know if you've read it, but I love that book, A Course in Miracles. And that beautiful book, it's kind of like the Bible, but it's been reinterpreted. So it's not based on the fire and brimstone and you're going to go to hell part of the Bible. That it mostly focuses on rebirth, renewal, reconciliation, and recovery, and just unconditional love, bringing everything back to unconditional love. And it said that a miracle is a change in perception.
A miracle is. Because it all can change in a snap of a finger. It's all how we think about it, and our thought process is attached to the body, the emotional reaction that we have. And we're less emotionally reactive when we're filling into our own cup, and we're able to go, this is a moment. I need to sit down and reflect right now.
And it's becoming aware of that awareness. You're aware of that awareness. That Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that all the time. It's become so habitual about being aware of being in the present moment. If you're worried about something, you're not in the present moment. If you are feeling anxious about something, you're not in the present moment. If you are ruminating, you're not in the present moment. And healing happens in the present moment when we can slow our systems down, when we can learn how to self-regulate. And that's the big, we've got generations, Gen Xers, even baby boomers, don't know how to self-regulate. We know how to self-medicate. We damn sure know how to self-medicate, but We need to know how to self-regulate. And that was the biggest thing. My mom my mom would give me sleeping pills in a spoon full of sugar because I would take naps at my babysitter's and I didn't want to go to sleep. So she started activating my nervous system for drugs when I was little. I mean, I remember I couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 years old, and to have that kind of memory of a spoonful of sugar with a sleeping pill, then she would crush it in water. So I would take it. So I would go to sleep. So what do you think is going to happen when I start experimenting? It's going to be like, ooh, I felt that before. Just think about it. A sleeping pill at that age, what that does. And then she's going to beat the shit out of you because you want to try drugs. Make that make sense.
I can relate to that, being on mental health medication since pretty much I was like 2 at some
How dare you find marijuana, or how dare you find something like that, you know?
Exactly. You're a horrible person because of that. Like yesterday is a great example, right? So my mom's older. My mom is 80 now, and I am her next to kin. So I get calls constantly about things that are going on, and if there's a concern, then I need to make sure mom's doing okay, right? And when I call mom because someone's called, she's like, I already handled that. I don't need your input. I'm like, whoa, we ain't doing this anymore. We ain't doing it like this anymore, mom. I'm your next of kin. They called me and let me know this. All I'm asking is if you are alive, if you are okay, and how are you doing? And what's mind-blowing about that is she still doesn't know how to have a conversation. So I just have to be grateful that she's willing to stop when I say, hey, you're tipping a boundary. But that's the end of the conversation. And for a girl or a woman that is healing through this healing journey, sometimes that still tags that little tiny piece of that little girl inside of me, and I just want to go roar. But I can't, because I have to understand that that's what she was taught love was. She was taught that as long as you bring a child into this world, you love them unconditionally and you throw all of their shit at them. And I can't get mad at her for loving like that. But I don't have to accept how she treats me. I can still put conditions on the relationship without feeling bad myself.
Exactly. What did that just do? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the biggest, I think, generational struggle that parenting had with the generations that we grew up with my parents and your parents, because they're about the same age, is that they didn't know that their children were really coming in to teach them and help them heal. They didn't know that. We got to find that out. We got to have that kind of awakening and understand that our kids, when that realization was brought up to me, and I learned, oh, my kids were and here we are, we want to teach them, you better listen to me, you better do as I say, you better follow me, you better do all of these controlling, authoritative type of parenting, which is what I did. I was super controlling because I wanted to protect my kids. I did not want my daughters to get abused in any way, and so I was hyper protective. They couldn't do shit. They couldn't go anywhere. I had to know. They couldn't spend the night anywhere. I mean, I was hyper crazy, and it was hard on them, but they didn't realize until they got older what I was trying to do. I was trying to protect them from putting them or allowing them to be in a position, and I trusted no one. And so, I didn't realize that my kids were going to be teaching me everything, and now they teach me shit every single day.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to like the saying of them doing something that instantly triggers you, and you're like, that's a younger version of myself. And that's when you can't, that is the hard moment, because I've done it where I've like gotten really mad at them for saying that, and I had to look back and go, that's something I've done that they've witnessed, that means I need to start working on that. Because that wouldn't have triggered me in that way, and they would have never said that if they never witnessed it. So it either came from me or someone else in the family, or that they're allowed around. So is that a child problem, or is that a mom and dad and co-parenting problem?
Well, it's always about us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And that's the hard thing to face
You
as
have
a
right.
parent when your
You just
kid
get
calls you.
better at the practice, right? Because I
Yes.
know when I get pissed off at my daughters or if I get annoyed with my grandkids, it's not about them. It's always your lesson. If you're getting mad, if it's bothering you, it's your lesson.
Yep.
Because they're just going about being themselves. They're just going about being who they're meant to be or who they came to be. And the littles in us get triggered because we wouldn't have been allowed to do that. We wouldn't have gotten away with that shit.
Oh, heck no. I would have gotten locked in a room. Like that was my punishment as a child. I would get locked in a room
Oh,
where I had no access to even leave the room without permission. Like I've not that I've allowed my children to get away with things, but I have understanding to what emotions are and what feelings are and what they look like and how they can placate. And no one's ideal thing is to co-parent, right? That's
mm-hmm.
never how it's supposed to go, but it's making the best of it, because co-parenting can get really rough and it can definitely drain your cup very quickly. I think it just depends on remembering that they're still learning, and the more healthy we model for them, the easier it's going to be for them to rise into their voice.
Yeah, because they know that they're safe. It's safe to do that. It's safe to be able to express themselves and teach them how to communicate, so that they don't have to feel, because you don't have to be locked in a room to be locked away,
No.
just when your voice is taken away. And
Mhm.
so giving them that space and holding that space for them is huge. I was super overbearing. Like my daughter, we got in a fight one time and we laugh about it now. She slammed the door and it ripped my toenail off. To this day, that toenail is fucked up. And my husband took her door off for a good month because she couldn't slam it on her mommy anymore. And so she had to go without a door for a while. So she put a curtain up. She got
I
nails and nailed
remember
the
those
curtain up,
days.
and I'm like gonna kill her because she's putting holes in the wall, but she nailed the curtain up there. She was gonna have her privacy. She was the one that challenged the most, and now she's just the coolest, best mother. She's amazing. She's independent and strong, and she's extremely giving. Both of them are, and it's just amazing to me that you can come out the other side of it and know that it wasn't all in vain. Yeah, we had some shit moments, but we've learned how to communicate. It's taken us 14. Well, I've been doing this since 2010, so 15 years. It's taken us to learn how to communicate, to learn how to get mad at each other and know that it's not the end, it's not forever, and we just get mad and get through it, or we say what we need to say and get through it. May not be ideal at times, but it still focuses on love, and I couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't be more grateful.
It's definitely a process to learn, definitely. And a lot of people, when they see someone unregulated, it's hard for them to want to support or love on them because it's something they've never seen before. And then they view that person differently. It's no different than an alcoholic, right? Like you view an alcoholic because of the way that they're acting, but what we don't see is all the unhealed trauma that they need to actually work on in order to see that great, amazing person that they can become. So it becomes the same process in the opposite direction.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, my girls have taught the kids, they get angry, go hit something. They've got big old big old bag. What do they call those big old punching bags out there on the
Yeah.
patio? One day my grandson got really upset about something. She was like, "You need to stop slamming the doors and you just need to go hit something." So he walked outside, walked up to that thing. He hit it so hard it flew off my back patio.
That is so hilarious. I remember you telling me that last time. And I can
And it's like, good, knock it out, go knock it out. I've heard that story where somebody would make their kids go hammer nails in a fence. They'd go, when they were mad, go hit nails, and they'd go make them, and then whenever the next time, then go pull nails. How many did they pull? How many were left? And what the analogy was, when you're angry, when you are say things that you don't want to say, or say things that you say in anger, look what's left, the holes. Okay, and that does the holes in our spirit, the holes in our heart, for those people that we may have said stuff to them, and it hurt their feelings or whatever. Oh, look, my little grandson's joined. Hello, Lachlan James, I see you. But it's just the process of healing, and that's what we came to. That's the agreements we made. Somehow, me and you have an agreement we were destined to meet. I was drawn from you from the very beginning. Your beautiful, beautiful hair,
thank
that
you.
little ginger over there, and just the way that you express the process that you are going through. I think it's extremely powerful. I think that so many people that have experienced, narcissistic relationships, that's a new word for us. We just had people that were a-holes, but it goes way deeper than just that.
Right.
This personality disorder that, probably has been generations upon generations and lifetimes of this type of behavior that was accepted, that was allowed, and people probably just didn't call it out. They just made people think that, oh, well, they're difficult, or though they're intense, or, and then they started with all of the diagnoses of personality disorders, part which I think are valid, part which I think, were excuses to put people on medication that maybe they didn't need. But,
Yep.
all in all, it's just a process of becoming and healing, what we've come to do right now.
Yeah, the medication thing that you just said really is something that digs a little deeper, right? Especially with my oldest, because she's been fully diagnosed with bipolar, because I was diagnosed with bipolar, and how reactive I was in the end of the co-parenting aspect, right? And she is now on lithium, right? She is now on what I just weaned off of, right? So when dealing with children who have experienced dysfunction their whole life, we have to remember that the medication is there for them to learn the skills that they need to maneuver through life.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're not going to get the same person on that medication that we are if they're off the medication.
Right.
But we can't tell them that they don't have this and they don't have that, because the doctors and everybody else have already given them permission to believe that, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
we have to learn how to maneuver with that. We gotta, what did I say in one of my videos? We have to parent our younger self. And when we parent our younger self, we naturally are parenting our children,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to see what we're doing with ourselves. If we're sitting in the middle of the floor and we're just bawling our eyes out, and they come and ask us what's wrong, and we're like, well, this feeling came up for mom, and this is how I'm working with it, and this is a skill that I'm using. Well, now we're teaching them, when they're in dysfunction, that it's okay to go ask for mommy's help, even if they're bawling their eyes out, and it's not going to be an inconvenience because they're in our way or whatever else it is in that moment. That moment's extremely important to that little one, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to navigate in their own way. And instead of parenting from a sense of, well, this is the line and we're going to stick to the line, like, that's not how parenting works as a whole. It really doesn't. But it was
Mm-hmm.
eye-opening when, like, the court system, their eyeballs are floored. They're like, you went 2 years no contact, and now you're pretty much done with therapy, done with psychiatric care. you're off your medication, you're doing really well, you're in a healthy relationship, and we're still dealing with your kids being in dysfunction over here. So we're really confused because everyone's telling us that you're the dysfunctional one, but you're bringing us proof and information to show that there's nothing been wrong except a dysfunctional life. So what do we do with this, and how do we handle this? Because we literally just put your daughter on, a medication to try to help her with what you said you were going through, right? So that's when it digs deeper. And how do we work in this dysfunction, and how do we get people to see it without telling them they're the problem?
Right.
That's the hardest part.
Well, you know, she's at the age where she's going to be figuring it out and finding a way to manage through life on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's here to experience whatever she has to experience, and luckily she has a mother like you that can guide her through the challenges of it. I remember when my daughter was diagnosed the same, and she didn't it that didn't align with her, and so she figured out a way to manage and get through it on her own. um I'm not against all medication. There were times when she was on it and it did help, but then there were times when it wasn't helping and it was making things worse. And so we just we figured it out, and she made that decision on her own. But she was a young adult. She was like 18 or 19 when she
Yeah.
really decided what she was no longer willing to take and do. And your daughter will get to that point too as well.
Yeah, I think I was asking from like a standpoint of if someone was listening that could relate to that aspect, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I personally know that I have to let her be. I have to let her have her fits. I have to let her be and let that part out of her, because from birth until 2 years ago, she was in protect everyone mode because she
Mhm.
witnessed someone do the most unthinkable things to her mom. So
Mhm.
imagine a child that has been silenced for that long, and
Yes.
and what it has done to her.
Mhm.
I had to go through that healing myself to understand that that's why I created the same cycle. I was just looking for something that was just a little bit better than what I currently had. And
Mhm.
that was a hard one to face. That when I get overwhelmed, that is the first thing that I think of, because that's the way my mom programmed me to live and to survive. So it's going to take her time, yes, but a functioning household isn't what society calls normal, right?
Mm-mm.
So how do I guess how would I word this? Learning that what we think is normal actually isn't normal. So if we have a kid that's constantly driving us up a wall, irritating the absolute crap out of us, there's not necessarily something wrong with them. There's something wrong with how we're handling those situations and the environment we are providing for them to be able to feel and regulate who they are as a person.
Right. And one thing to keep in mind is she was just a recording from the time she was born until 7. So whatever she experienced in her energy field, whatever she experienced in her family life of the dysfunction, that is what feels normal to her.
Yeah.
That is what feels safe to her. And the best way to help her through it is to model what you wish her to experience. And you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it. You're doing it
It's
every
not
step of the
easy
way,
work,
girl.
but yes, I'm doing it. And I'm here to help other women. I'm here for the women that don't feel as they have a voice yet, that their voice is still in that box.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I've been there. Way, way too long was I there until I really implemented those small attributes. And I love this space with me and Kathleen where we're able to like let you guys see parts that necessarily aren't talked about in content. to see that we're real people that have been through these things, and that
Mm-hmm.
these small little attributes can totally change your whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
My psychiatrist keeps saying this to me. She's like, "You're the easiest client I've ever had in my whole entire life." And I'm like, "What?" And she says that because she's like, "You have proved everything I say to clients. Your environment matters, who you have around you matters, what you're eating matters, your daily routine and your daily habits, whether they're good or bad, matter. And you don't, medication is to suppress the dysfunction that is going on." And I was like, "Holy crap, a psychiatrist actually said it."
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the pure truth, is medication is to suppress you from what is going on in your personal life so that it's not such a high anxiety. So when you remove yourself from the dysfunction, you no longer actually need the medication.
Yes. 8 different medications I was on. 8. And it wasn't until 2020 when I got off the final one. And it was really because I was like, when all of the other stuff was going on and you were finding out about, the CDC and how the FDA does all the medicine, I was like, we are not supposed to be on this medication for 20 years. We're just
No.
not.
Let me,
It's supposed to be temporary.
yes.
But see, this is the thing. Those certain medications turn off certain receptors in our brain, which makes us more controllable,
Yep.
which
Yep.
makes us disconnect from the light. That's why they put fluoride in our water. They wanted to disconnect us from that spiritual part of our brain. That's why they over medicate people, and want to medicate these babies for them just being little kids. But we don't know what those kids are being programmed. So of course, maybe they can't sit still because they're living in fight or flight all the time. And so then they go to school and they can't be managed. Well, let's give them medication. You know,
Well,
I'm
in
all for
reality,
acute
it's,
care
yeah.
and helping rebalance things. But I tell you what, getting off of that shit was harder than the drug that I had become addicted to. The rebound, the detoxification took months. Months. I could get off my other stuff. I could stop and not do it for 3 or 4 weeks, not have any withdrawals, not have anything. Of course, then I'd get triggered and go back out. It wasn't until I learned how to manage the triggers where I stopped that. But getting off of that, which was completely legal and prescribed to me every 90 days, was the hardest part. And if I missed just one pill, it would make me sick. It's nauseous. I'd get this swooshing in my ears. I have not had that medication in 5 years. And just the other day, I woke up and had the swooshing in my ears. And
Yeah,
it's
because
weird.
it's programmed in your body, like it's stored. The medication stores in different organs in you as a person, right? Go to the beginning of my medication journey from age like 2, right? With all the things my mom tried to say was wrong with me. I've been on over like probably 5,000 different medications that I've been a guinea pig to my whole entire life.
Oh,
So for the last 15 years since, my first daughter was born, I've pretty much been on, lit for the whole time, and it has destroyed my insides. I am now recovering my kidneys. I am now recovering, my GI, and healing it properly and feeding it the things that it needs, because my body is been getting nothing
processing
but
that
salt.
mess for so long.
Yeah, it's been getting nothing but this specific amount of salt every day in order for me to look normal. And is that a good thing? Yes, but if you don't actually work on what the medication is putting a band-aid on, then you're just continuing to put that band-aid, a new band-aid on every single day, and this is the excuse that doesn't get taken care of, because this becomes more addicting than actually
Mm-hmm.
working on the hard thing. In 14 years of that, I've definitely learned how to, or I mean 24 years of doing that, I've definitely learned how to maneuver past it, and it still feels weird sometimes. Like I'll have moments where I'll just start crying for no reason. No reason at all. I have no idea what's going on, and I just have to
When
sit
I
there
started
and
getting off mine, I didn't realize it was going to affect even our taste buds. the way things smelled after I finally got off of all of the medications. And what was so weird was I was crying all the time when I was going through it, when I was detoxing, and everything was making me cry. A song on the radio, I'd miss my mom. My daughters would do something kind, and I would just be so full of gratitude. It makes me cry just thinking about it. I'd be so full of cry. And then I found human design, right? And I learned that I have emotional authority. I came to experience this lifetime through my emotions, and I had been shutting them down for over 20 something years. And like, it used to bother my sister because I'd cry all the time. Well, you're always crying. Well, I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. This is just who I am. And I don't know how, if that's not my problem. That's on you,
Yeah.
you
My
know?
kids used to
Oh,
say that to me a lot.
that's what I've come here. You choose to numb them. You choose to disconnect or take your medication or do whatever because you don't want to cry. Well, I'm gonna cry, and that's, you see, I'm an emotional person. I all the time, and my grandsons, Grandma, why are you crying? And I'm just so happy. I'm just grateful, And once I learned that, then I gave myself permission to just be who I am. I'm an emotional being. I'm gonna cry. It it
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah, because there's some type of memory that you have that's like something or someone or even yourself wasn't able to come to the table at the level you were looking for as a child, and now you're doing that. A great example is when my youngest or my oldest graduated from kindergarten. I was an absolute mess. And I just figured out why, as you were talking about this, is because my mom was never there for anything.
Mm.
Right? So I was actually there for her graduating elementary school on time, doing all the things, going through the hard moments and making sure that she did all of the things in order to graduate. My mom was never there for any of that. Not
Mm-mm.
homework, not graduation, not choir events, nothing. So giving yourself that time to go, hey, I'm changing this one small tiny step at a time. Well, rest of the world is like, oh, you're such a crybaby, blah 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 blah, and like all the crap that was talked about. How
Mm.
much I was bawling like a baby, a newborn
Oh yeah.
baby for her graduation, and she's like, "Mom, you're so embarrassing," and I'm like, "I'm not trying to be embarrassing. I swear to God, I'm just full of emotion. I can't help it."
I was an emotional basket case when my oldest daughter graduated and then the next one graduated. Everything was a cry fest. The last pep rally, the first football game, the last the last dance, the last prom, everything was monumental to me because I didn't have that either. I wasn't good in school. I didn't experience I didn't go to prom. I had a baby. I didn't have those memories of high school that they got to experience the full thing. And for the most part, it was pretty magical. But yeah, my granddaughter, my youngest one, she's turned 5 in May, and she's about to start kindergarten. My daughter's already getting all verklempt, because it's her baby. It's her last baby going to school. She just bought her oldest his first truck.
Oh my
She
gosh.
bought that this week. It got delivered yesterday, and so proud of her. She works really hard and all on her own, and got it for him. He's a good kid, and she surprised him yesterday with it. And so, we're all just doing the very best that we can, and you're going to you're on your way, babe, to really healing this lifetime that you've come into experience, and then to help those littles that you have and help them heal it too. So.
I am very honored to have you a part of this journey. It's definitely helpful. I don't think that some of the growth I would have experienced without your skill set that you do have. Um, yeah, because the past couple of weeks have been pretty rough, and you and I have talked about that, so you get it. But like the people who don't believe in any other type of healing other than putting a band-aid on it, aka medication, like
Mm-hmm.
there's
something
a
like that.
there's a whole other person just waiting to be felt and validated from within you.
Oh,
And hypnosis does that.
thank
I've
you.
felt
I
it. I've
appreciate
felt
that.
it multiple times. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it. When I found it, I didn't experience it the way that I do it. It was totally different. My hypnotist had these glasses that I would put on, and it would immediately put me into theta, and then we would recover some things and some memories and stuff. It was nothing like what I've learned, and I attribute that because I went to the best school in the United States. It's called the American Hypnotherapy Academy of America, and it was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We were actually the last graduating class in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then it moved to Albuquerque because it got an NIH, a National Institute of Health study. It got approval to do a study, and I was part of it. And it was because I had incontinence issues, and it was a way of helping women heal incontinence through hypnotherapy. Well, mine, through my process of the procedure, we were doing the work on the body and learning how to strengthen the pelvic floor, learning how to work on the bladder. Well, I had a memory, and the memory was my abuse, and I would, you know, I would pee when I was being abused. And when that came through, it completely healed my incontinence issues.
That is that is wild. That is insanely wild.
Mhm.
I've
From
never thought of that, but you are probably right. That's something that I think my younger child, and as I call her Jamie, which is the little girl that was abused for so many years. That's those are the memories that have been suppressed that just will not open. From what I have tried in treatment so far, that doesn't mean my journey is going to end. I'm going to keep healing, and I'm going to keep finding ways to become a better version of me. But at the end of the day, like those little things really do affect every type of success in our life.
mhm,
Every type of success.
yeah. So yeah, just the processes that I've learned were just so magical when I was there. That whole first week of just being there with, I'm in a group of probably 70 people at this course, and I'm in there with uh, doctors and psychiatrists and nurses, and I'm just me. I don't have an extended education, so I was very intimidated about where I was, and I would just cry because just the education, the philosophy, everything that I've learned was so in alignment with what I was ready to hear and receive that I would just cry. I was in such gratitude that I found it. And I knew God sent me to that place. And I've met people from all over the world from that program that we are still in contact with. And so I think we just have to trust where we're being led, where we're being guided, you know. Follow the energy. That's what I tell everybody. Just follow the energy. If it feels good in your body, then it's in alignment, because our body, we weren't taught this, but our body is what we're supposed to make our decisions from. How does this decision feel in my body? But we were taught, oh, use your head, be logical. This is for processing information, but decision making is coming from the body because it
Yep.
comes from your intuition.
Yep. That's why when if you've been in chaos your whole life and you experience positivity, that's why you react in a toxic way, because toxicity has been healthy and healthy has been toxic. That's the way that the world is kind of construed it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to learn how to do after a life of chaos. I will tell you that. Learning how to have a healthy relationship with yourself or anyone else for that matter. And when you finally have it, it is the most peacefulest thing that you can possibly think of, because you can be unapologetically you in every way, shape, and form.
Yes.
You get to have breakdowns. Just because you're a healthy person doesn't mean that your body isn't absolutely going through something that it needs to release. And when you can't do that, then you're not in that divine time yet. Like you're just not ready for it just yet.
Yeah. But now you are, yay! And look at all of the progress, look at all of the movement, all of the shifting and healing that you've done. And you're just amazing. I know the backstory, so the fact that you are who you are out of this situation, out of the lifetime that you've had to experience, it's just beautiful, it's just beautiful.
Yes, I appreciate that. It's not, it's a hard thing to go through. Like I wish that I could say that it was easy, but it's not. And until we're tired, until we hit the point of exhaustion of repeating the same life over and over again, will we actually want to change?
Right. It was a dark night of the soul. They call it the dark night of the soul.
Yeah,
That's when you're ready. That's when you really feel that pull, and you've just to make that decision. No more. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And so you start your path and you find that person that can help you along the way.
Yep, I 100% agree.
Well, girl, I have enjoyed this session. It was amazing. It was so much fun being able to share our experience, and hopefully we will attract those to us that are looking for some answers.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can shoot us DMs or make comments on the content that we have made. And there's other ways of getting a hold of us if you would like to talk one-on-one with us. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, hopefully.
Yes, we'll do it again. All right, honey, you have a great evening. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye,
babe.
Kathleen.